you know, it completely upends it. It reads Title IX to say that women's sports cease to exist, that a biological man, if he wants to be in a woman's sport, go for it. In a woman's locker room, fine. It's so outrageous that I think almost every court that has considered it hasn't joined it. Not arguably.
In the Bostock opinion, that is not what we did under President Trump's first term, and that is not what we will do under President Trump's second term.
Good.
Hey, fellow Patriots. Welcome back to the channel where truth, freedom, and common sense still matter. Today, I want to talk about a Senate hearing that should be front-page news for every parent, coach, and student in America. We're talking about Title IX, the law that changed the game for women's sports and opportunities, and how it's under attack from the woke left. I just watched a Senate hearing where a nominee for the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, the folks who enforce Title IX, was grilled on whether they're going to keep letting the Biden administration push biological men into women's sports, locker rooms, and private spaces. This is a big deal, folks. We're talking about the safety, privacy, and fairness for our daughters, our granddaughters, and every woman who worked hard for a spot on the team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominees. Thank you for being here. Mr. Chief, if I could just start with you. I just want to clarify something that you said to Senator Baldwin a moment or two ago. She asked you about OCR investigations into alleged cases of discrimination on the basis of gender identity under Title IX. And you said, I think, I'm looking at our quick transcript of your remarks. I was sitting here. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. You said that the OCR, Department of Ed OCR, would investigate alleged cases of gender identity discrimination. Why is that?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and for the opportunity to have a detailed discussion about it. So in 2017, OCR clarified that transgender students, that students who bring allegations forth based on sexual orientation and gender identity, were protected from harassment under Title IX. Sex stereotyping, a very narrow set of cases applied to protect students on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. That was back in 2017. Following the Bostock case, OCR had to step back and determine how Bostock applied to Title IX cases. There are a lot of reasons it didn't apply, and I can walk through those because they're significant. But what OCR finally determined is that because of the holding in Bostock, that Bostock could inform OCR's evaluation of complaints that allege discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation identity to determine if they involve biological sex, which is consistent with the Bostock opinion. So what we held is that Bostock could inform a limited sect of OCR cases pertaining to different treatment, pertaining to harassment, pertaining to bullying, but we drew a hard line at universally accepting Bostock to apply to all Title IX cases. What we said is that because the Supreme Court said that biological sex was not relevant in the termination of those employees in Bostock, that we would also look at the relevance of sex in our cases. And what we determined is that sex is relevant in certain instances. Sex is relevant with regard to restrooms. Sex is relevant with regard to locker rooms. And sex is relevant with regard to athletic teams. So it was a very nuanced approach.
But sex is not gender identity. And the Bostock decision is Title VII. The Supreme Court specifically reserved the question of whether or not it applied to Title IX. Justice Gorsuch is very clear on this. Now, the Biden administration didn't heed that warning at all, as you know.
Yes, sir.
They subsequently issued guidance that attempted to rewrite Title IX completely.
Yes.
That guidance has been enjoined nationally by courts because it is utterly inconsistent with the text of Title IX. Indeed, as you know, it completely upends it. It reads Title IX to say that women's sports cease to exist, that a biological man, if he wants to be in a woman's sport, go for it. In a woman's locker room, fine. It's so outrageous that I think almost every court that has considered it hasn't joined it.
I agree.
So, okay, I just want to be sure that you're not going to follow the Biden administration's interpretation of Title IX, surely.
No, sir. The Biden administration universally accepted Bostock and arguably exceeded, right? Went even further, I think.
Not arguably.
Than the Bostock opinion. That is not what we did under President Trump's first term, and that is not what we will do under President Trump's second term.
Good. Okay. I want to be crystal clear on this. That I think it's a very dangerous thing to start allowing this into Title IX, which is you know, it is a landmark statute. It is vitally important, and it has been under attack for 4 long, very long years, where we have seen women's sports, women's leadership opportunities, women's safety eliminated in many cases. And now, of course, one of the challenges you're going to face is you've got a host of colleges and universities who are openly defying, not just this administration, they're defying court orders. I hear a lot of talk from my friends over here on this side of the dais about the need to follow court orders. We've got a whole bunch of colleges and administrations that are defying court orders and saying, oh, we don't care. We're going to have biological men in women's sports no matter what. We're going to have biological men in women's locker rooms no matter what. Surely you're going to go after that, are you not, and protect the women on campus?
Yes, sir. The current leadership within OCR and Secretary McMahon, as you know, is prioritizing these cases, and that will not stop under my leadership if I'm fortunate enough to assume this role.
Good. And I want to be on the record to back to your regulations both in 2017 and 2020. I think you might want to rethink those. I mean, in light of subsequent jurisprudence and in light, frankly, of subsequent experience, I think you want to take a really hard look at how you're interpreting gender identity and the interface. So we've had there's some water under the bridge now, and the interface with biological sex and just how that's being used to undermine the rights of it's never the rights of men, it's always the rights of women, 100% of the time. And I think we've got to be very careful about that. My time has expired, and the chairman, I'm such a good citizen, I never go over. So I'll just submit some questions for the record for you, Dr. Schwinn, and others. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, let me break down what happened. The senator, a true defender of women's rights, asked the nominee point blank, are you going to keep following Biden's radical guidance that says gender identity trumps biological sex in Title IX? The nominee said, clear as day, and no. He said under Trump, and again if Trump gets another term, they will not force schools to let biological men compete in women's sports or use women's facilities. That's a huge promise, and frankly, it's about time someone stood up and said enough is enough. You know, the left loves to talk about following the science until it comes to basic biology. Suddenly, men can be women, and anyone who disagrees is a bigot. But here's the truth, folks. Sex matters. Biology matters. Asterisk, asterisk, that's not hate, that's reality. Think about what's at stake here. For decades, Title IX has ensured that women have a fair shot on the field, in the classroom, in leadership. But the radical left wants to erase those gains. They want to let biological males who have clear physical advantages take scholarships, championships, and even invade private spaces meant for our daughters. That's not progress. That's regression. And you know what's fired me up? The senator called out colleges. Yes, those woke universities who are flat out defying court orders just to keep pushing their agenda. Where's the accountability? Where are the consequences? If a college ignores a court order, they should lose federal funding. Period. This is America. We're a nation of laws, not feelings. Let's not forget, the Biden administration's guidance has been enjoined nationwide. That means courts have said it's illegal, inconsistent with the plain text of Title IX, and threatens the very existence of women's sports. Yet the left just keeps doubling down, hoping we won't notice or will be too afraid to speak up. Well, I'm not afraid, and I know you aren't either. This isn't about hate or phobia. It's about fairness, safety, and dignity for girls and women. Every time a biological male takes a spot on a women's team, a real girl loses out. Every time a biological male steps into a women's locker room, safety and privacy are threatened. Why should our daughters pay the price for the left's social experiments? So what can we do? First, stay informed. Share this video. Talk to your neighbors, your school board, your elected officials. Demand that Title IX be enforced as Congress intended, to protect the rights and opportunities of women and girls. Second, asterisk, asterisk vote. Asterisk, asterisk elections have consequences. If you care about women's sports, if you care about the future of our country, support leaders who will stand up to the woke mob and defend common sense. Patriots, the fight isn't over. We can't be silent while the left tries to rewrite reality. We owe it to our daughters and every young woman with a dream. Let's stand together for truth, for fairness, and for America. If you agree, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Asterisk, asterisk, do you think biological men should be allowed in women's sports? Asterisk, asterisk, let your voice be heard. God bless you. God bless our women and girls, and God bless the United States of America.